On to the big one. It is the 2023 Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup. Do you know what Boodles is, by the way?
No idea. Oh, it's diamonds.
Jewellery. Yeah. Jewellery. So 2023 Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup. Currently your 13-8 favourite is Gallopin the Shams, 15-2 Noble Yates, 8-1 Plutar, 8-1 Brave Man's Game, 8-1 Statler, 14-1 A High Senior, 14-1 Protectorate, and 20-1 Bar. Of course, Mikey, this is the 1 year anniversary of you butchering the pronunciation of the subsequent Cheltenham Gold Cup winner.
Plutard.
Yeah.
What did I say? What did I say? A plus tard.
A plus tard, yeah. A plus tard.
Sure, I was taught to read like that, you know. English.
Right. This is serious now, right? No messing, right? No messing, right? We're taking this very serious. It's a Cheltenham Gold Cup. We have a potential superstar on our hands here in Gallopin the Shams. We're not going to talk about his size, okay? Let's just say he's a big enough horse, okay? Gallopin the Shams is 13-8 favourite, Mikey Fogarty. Are you getting out the wheelbarrow for Gallopin the Shams?
No, not at that price. No way. No, couldn't. That's a ridiculous price.
It's not though, Mikey.
It is a ridiculous price. I think it is anyway. Against a proper King George, Grand National, you know, 4 miler last year. The Gold Cup.
But could he just be different class to them?
Nah, you know, there's different class and he has to go do it. You know what I mean? That's a price for a horse that had a clean year and done it last year in a Gold Cup. He ran in a 3-runner Turners. And he lay down. He got a fall at the back of the last. He was tired a bit as well. You know what I mean? But I here he's a fantastic horse, great horse. But no, not for me at that price anyway. And I just didn't like the Gold Cup is going to be a different race. It's another 2.5 furlongs. You're not going to get the run that you're going to get around Leopardstown in your 5 or 6 runners. And for me, I've chopped and changed and I've thought about the race, I didn't like Braveman's Game ever. But what he did in the King George, when he went 6 wide, and he beat who I thought was the best chaser around in long press and bet him well, I have to give him a squeak. And
it was an unbelievable performance.
I couldn't believe what I was watching. Why Harry Cobden this horse. Braveman's Game was so afraid of Le Homme Press. He missed about 6 or 7 fences where he usually would have winged. You know, you could see him. He was just reluctant to. And like he wasn't in a rhythm at all. Like, and I couldn't believe. I could understand why Ruby said it. Like, you know, if I did that on a horse, that'd be just coming into you just to be.
That's exactly what Paul Nichols said to me. He said he was ready to eat Cobden like when he came back, and he said if you did, like why on earth he was on the outside of Long Press, it was jumping out that way the whole way, but like to still win the race as impressively as he did. Like, we could be talking about a proper horse here.
Yeah, more importantly, what did Harry say to Nichols afterwards? Why did he stay out there?
I think it was the initial plan probably to just give him some room, and you know he had given him room prior to that in all his races, so I think he just wanted daylight, and then obviously Long Press just kept coming out. But the right thing to do, as he said, was go in between Froden and Long Press, but he didn't. But look, he won the race, so he's a brilliant jockey.
I wouldn't think, like, that wasn't one of his finer hours though.
Don't even start to argue with me on Harry Cobden. Harry Cobden is by far and away the best jockey in England.
I don't know about that now. No, he's a very
you're
good
obviously
jockey.
Not watching racing. Go on anyway.
I watch as much as you, by the looks of it. But on that performance alone, I'm fancying Braveman's Game. Like,
and 8-1 decent value?
You'd have to say that horse is going to be banged there. Like on that run, he put your man to bed and he went 6 wide. So I couldn't understand the ride. I still to this day will never understand the ride. But he's a great eye for a stride, and he really suits Nichols. But there's a lot of variables in Gold Cups and stuff, and I don't know if you're going to get away to do that.
Okay. Brave Man's Game for Mikey at 8-1. David Mullins.
Brave Man's Game, didn't he? It wasn't Long Press said lame, and Venetia said after jumping 3 or 4 fences after, she knew there was something wrong. So wasn't that why he was jumping out to the left?
He always jumps left though, didn't he?
I don't know about that, but
didn't
she say that for an interview, and he's lame since and he's not running. So I think he can knock that performance down a bit. Gallopin the Shams, it should be all over. As I said, everything ran a bit flat with Paul Town in Leopardstown, and he looked a small bit like that down the back for whatever reason, I don't know. But he still hit the line very well and won convincingly. He's my pick for it, and I think Braveman's Game winning the King George, I don't think that's really the way to go for a Gold Cup unless you're caught off star. Noble Yates, National isn't the way. Plutard hasn't been good enough this year. 4 miler, I can't think of the last one to win a Gold Cup.
River.
He didn't win it though.
Didn't win it, yeah.
He did.
No, Manila Rocco won it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So yeah, that's not the way to go either. So yeah, for me, a high senior protectorate, no, I'm actually going to give Hewitt a chance of finishing in the first 3 if the ground stays good.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Just Don, I know obviously we're having a crack or whatever, but just you actually do think there is something to this Paul Townend thing in the Curragh, do you?
I have no other excuse. It's just every horse that Paul Rose seems to run flat. I can't see any other thing. I don't know.
Okay.
That's draws, but it's the only one I can come up with.
Like you were disappointed by a lot of horses who didn't run their race at Dublin Race Festival.
And I wouldn't blame Paul Townend for the rides on them. They just didn't fire. So I don't know what reason. But
and they had worked very well at the Curragh.
I know. I haven't a clue if they were even in the Curragh.
Oh.
I'm just saying that the last pieces of work that they might have done, maybe Paul wanted to see which one was better. I don't know. But
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
it was Gallopin de Champlain, Facile Vega, and Blue Laura.
Yeah.
There are 4 horses that do travel in big races, and we're very impressed up to it, and they didn't look the colour themselves that day.
Interesting. So you think 13 take Gallopin de Champs, that's perfectly fine, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be very hard to beat. Don, I know you're going to pluck one out of the sky here.
Yeah, he's the right favourite, Gallopin de Champs, and look, he's got a lot of the attributes you look for. He's got class, he jumps, he travels, he's got Cheltenham Festival form, Cheltenham Festival winning form, should be a dual Cheltenham Festival winner. But he's short, and I think I think it's a fairly deep Gold Cup. I know Noble Yates is a Grand National winner. It's you just don't do that, win a Grand National and then come on and win a Gold Cup the following year. And Golden Miller's the last one to do it, and he won 5 Gold Cups.
Good knowledge.
Aplutar, like if Aplutar was the Aplutar that we saw last year, he'd win it, probably. But it just hasn't been able to do it this year. In very few attempts, it has to be said. But if he came back, and there's a chance that Henry Romhead will have him back to his best, then he's a big price at 8 to 1.
Just one, he's on your own once.
Yeah. Statler, I agree with the lads. I think he's you can see him staying on well and running into a place maybe, but I think it's too hot really to see Statler going and winning it. But Conflated, he's not on the list here. I don't think he's 20 to 1. I think he should be on here somewhere. He's a 10 or 12 to 1.
Yeah, I'd say that's a misprint.
Yeah.
Did we go for the right now?
Oh no, I think
he goes for the Gold Cup.
He goes for the Gold Cup.
He's 12 to 1.
12 to 1, yeah. No, I think that's more than fair. Like I just think he's a horse that doesn't get a lot of traction for some reason. Like he was a very talented horse. He won the Irish Gold Cup last year. He ran on the Racehour last year, and the trip was probably almost certainly too short for him. He was still going to stay on to finish second behind Allaho, probably, when he came down at the second last.
Definitely, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, this year he's won the Savills. He won it with tons in hand. You could have called him as the most likely winner from a long way out. And he hasn't run since then, but that's been the plan. And I like that plan, to go on straight from the Savills to Cheltenham without taking in the Irish Gold Cup on the way. I think it's a lot to win a Savills, win an Irish Gold Cup, win a Cheltenham Gold Cup. It has been done, but it's the exception more than the rule. And I think he's probably a better horse this year as a 9-year-old than he was last year as an 8-year-old. We were down in Gordon's yesterday, and he's very happy with it.
Oh, yeah.
He's very sweet on him.
They fancy him.
You know, they do. And
I thought it was interesting, Don. Like he said that he was mad as a young horse. He ran out one day with Lisa O'Neill, and he said it's been a process getting him to settle and getting him to do things right. And he thinks he's at the end of that process now.
Yeah, and I think the step up in trip will suit him as well. And he's got that Cheltenham form as well. While he didn't finish last year, he ran well, he jumped well up and down hills. So I think he's a wee bit of a forgotten horse in the race.
The only worry you'd have, I'd imagine, is he good enough to win a Gold Cup?
Oh yeah, well that's the worry, and it's a good Gold Cup. It looks like a good Gold Cup. You've got the King George winner, last year's winner, Grand National winner, the force that is Gallopin de Champs. So it's a good Gold Cup as Gold Cups go. But you're getting 12 to 1 about him. I think that's fair. He may not be good enough, but he may be, and I think 12 to 1 is too big.
Well, you've made a compelling case. 12 to 1 Conflated. I don't think you put anybody off anyway. That is Donn McClean's fancy in the 2023 Gold Cup. You have a good record in the Gold Cup, Don. You fancied Millennium the year he won it.
No, I fancied Absolute Hard of the year. He was second.
Oh, sorry, you got the wrong way around.
He was second, yeah.
that was it.
I got the wrong way around.
Sorry to rub that in, Don.
Close.
Yeah.
So conflated nap for second.
Yeah, exactly.
Diarmuid, Gold Cup.
Gallopin Deschamps is a head scratcher in that he's clearly unbelievably talented, and I think he answered like 95% of the stamina questions at Leopardstown. The only question I have is at the pace they crawled. It was a bit of a sprint at the end, and he was the quickest horse at the finish. That's the only point that I've left. So I'm going to cling to that 5% to take him on again. I love Statler. And the flip here for anyone that does listen to the Racehour podcast was I hated him last season. I took him on in every run.
That's because I liked him.
Yeah, that was it probably, yeah. And it was only we were down at the last watching the race at Cheltenham, and the power he jumped the last. And this season he gave, was it £9 or £10 he gave to Mellindo at Tremor, and he went down fighting, 8, sorry. He went down fighting. And then I thought the last day, I just thought that pace really didn't suit him. Now the one issue we have here is that for people like myself that like Statler is the pace. We kind of need a high senior really to kind of get on with it for him.
Surely ability is a problem as well.
I don't know. I was listening to
ability.
Willie Mullins today, and Willie Mullins said that he thinks this horse could win over the right race over 2 miles. Like Willie really does think that, and literally that's quote for quote.
Statler.
Yeah, Patrick said the same, that he's not a slow horse. He's
Yeah.
a horse.
Huh?
He's a horse.
Yeah, he's a slow horse. He's never.
Patrick said he's not a slow horse.
That was horse, not horse.
Yeah. No, but like
You're dead right, David.
But that's Patrick and Willie have said that now, and I wouldn't have him down as a quick horse at all. But I think there is a situation here where the race develops by a high senior getting on with things, and then Statler kicks into his stamina reserves late on, and I do think he's good enough. I really do.
To win a Gold Cup, yeah.
I do, yeah, 100%. At 8-1, yeah, I quite like him for this.
Okay. Statler for Diarmuid Nolan. Jamie.
Well, I mean, there was a reason I was able to correct you on how many pounds Minella Rindo was giving away.
Sorry, I forgot that.
It's because I fancy Minella Rindo.
Yeah.
I think Gallopin Deschamps is absolutely the right.
Rindo this year.
Yeah, I know. I'm about 2 years too late, but I've loved the horse for years, and then completely gone off him because you think he's over the hill. But he's been around forever. He's only a 10-year-old, and his record at Cheltenham is 2 wins, 2 seconds.
Last 10-year-old to win the Gold Cup.
Cool down.
Cool down.
Cool down. Blimey.
I don't think some of you weren't even born.
Yeah.
I was there.
Were you?
96.
Jesus, you're fresh.
But
faced.
but
Anyway.
it's
I couldn't remember it though. Sorry.
frankly I don't see Gallopin Deschamps getting beat, like in the way, because I was never a Gallopin Deschamps fan until Leopardstown, and then I saw the look on David Casey when he was speaking afterwards, and he was like, he was doing half speed and pulls at hands, and I couldn't believe it when I sort of heard that, because it looked like he was in a little bit of trouble when they just kicked.
He was breathing hard after the race though, I thought.
So David Casey said like the opposite. He was like, he's done nothing. It was like a piece of work. I mean, the lads in the end will probably know a lot more than me on that, but you've never seen a man as bullish, well, except for as he is with Appreciate It, maybe.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But he literally could not have him beat in this, and I think he answered the stamina doubts at Leopardstown. Admittedly, they did go cruel, but you still need to stay in that race. And you look at the work he did from the last, and he absolutely flew away. So I think he is the right winner. But I think Minella Rindo in the each way price is guaranteed to run a big race. He's absolutely bouncing at home. He's never really run that well in winter. So that win at Tremor was out of character. You know, he got beat twice, I think, before he won the Gold Cup that season. And so, you know, don't be fooled that he's over the hill. You know, he's 25-1. I think that's a very, very fair each way price.
Excellent. Minella Indo for Jamie Benson from the Tote. Dean?
Yeah, I think it's an absolutely belting Gold Cup. Delighted to have all of these ones turn up. We've got all the proper stories around them. Like Gallopin does look a monster. I think he's done everything absolutely right. He hit the line plenty hard enough for Leopardstown, so you can't really have too many concerns. The thing is, the problem is the price. Like, I've been Brave Man's Game fan for a long time, and I thought the 25-1 around for him before the King George was ridiculous. But it only seemed to be
a bit of that?
I did, but
nice.
Racehour listeners, again, it pays to listen to the Racehour through the season and not just today. Obviously, it might lose, but
Not just for Christmas. Not just for Christmas.
there's the ad. But so But that all seemed to be based around the fact that Paul Nicholls doesn't like Cheltenham. That's nonsense. Train Gold Cup winners. If he thinks his horse is good enough, run it at King George. The view was, if it won at King George, it's definitely going to go for the Gold Cup. You'll have a bit of value. I think he's the only real danger to Gallopin de Champs. And that'll do me. We could be looking at a very special horse, but he's 13-8. Brave Man's Game, I still think is value at 8-1. He'll be bang there. He jumps like an absolute pussycat. Brilliant. Absolutely foot perfect. And he's
Never heard that analogy. Jumps like a pussycat.
Well, you know when you drop a cat, what's it land on? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, it's absolutely.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong. I just have never heard it before.
He's foot perfect, and I think there's enough in there for him to really give this a proper rattle. So I'd be Brave Man's Game. I was a big fan of Statler last year. I don't think he's classy enough to beat this lot. I can't understand the price on Noble Yates. The only worry is what Don said. If you're looking for one other one, it's at Plutarch, but one run and pulled up. That Gold Cup win last year, if you have to try and erase it from your memory, but if you remember it, was breathtaking.
Unbelievable.
If it does that again, none of them will beat that.
Can I throw one horse at just David and Mikey? Ahoy Senor and Don and Diarmuid and Jamie and Dean. Any love for Ahoy Senor?
He jumps a bit right, doesn't he?
He does jump right, but he's better going left-handed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I think he's just completely a spring horse. I think he's a spring horse. I think he's going to improve for the Cotswold Chase. If he gets into a rhythm early, I don't think he's good enough to beat Gallopin de Champs, but I think a 14-1, Ahoy Senor could be the flyer in
He's
the
good enough
race.
to be Brave Man's Game on form now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, he's beaten him twice already.
No, I know, but just a second in the RSA on the line for that horse and the King George, does that not just leave a little issue there? Like, if he was good enough, he wins an RSA last season, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I thought he ran okay. He finished second, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but he went and beat them all at Aintree. He beat
Hammered
Brave
them.
Man's Game, he beat Long Press.
He hammered them, yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I just think a 14-1, he's probably the flyer in the lineup. But I think Gallopin de Champs could potentially be the next big thing. That is your 2023 Cheltenham Gold Cup.